name's David. I'm an alcoholic. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. First off, I just want to pray. God, I just ask that your words, your words come through today. Let myself shrink and you be lifted up. Let your experience through this program and who you are be lifted and guided. And may that be what's seen today, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, thank you. So I am excited because I get to talk about working with others. I thought about what did I want to talk about because I knew that I would be asked. So I was thinking about what would I want to share on, what would I want to talk about. And right away, working with others came instantly. And then in church service, we were kind of hearing a little bit about, going out, doing the work. We're studying the workbook of Acts, and it was just reaffirming that, yes, this is the topic. And I'm going to share a little bit of kind of some experiences that I've had and some of what I read in the big book about it. So the very first thing I did is I wanted to, refresh myself with, what does the big book say about working with others? There's a whole chapter dedicated to it. But a couple of things that I remember from reading was as a sponsee, what do you look for in a sponsor? So what do you look for, right? So it always says, you want to find a person who has an answer, right? Someone who's got an answer, someone who has no axes to grind, is no holier than thou, but someone who can really help and guide someone through that. So this helps me see, number one, who a sponsor or how someone should be, what we're looking for, but also what someone should not be. So whatever there's something that they should be, there's also what someone should not be. So I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm not the greatest sponsor in the world or the greatest person in the world, but it's not actually even about me. That's the great thing. The great thing is it's about God. And it's about my connection with God. And it's about me connecting somebody else to God. So someone who, let's look at that first part, has got an answer, right? So an answer to addiction problem. That comes from my experience, a relationship with God. And the 12th step says, having had a spiritual experience, I'm willing to share that with somebody else. So I'm looking for a qualification, and a qualification to me is I've had that spiritual experience. I'm connected with God, and this is who I am. When I first started working the steps, my sponsor told me right off the bat, hey, you're going to have to do the steps. You're going to have to use some of your spare time working with others. I said yes, but in my head, I said, no way. I'm not going to do that because I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. I'm too important. I'm too whatever. And all of those things start with the word I, right? It's a selfish, self-centered thing. And that's something I have to work on every day is not to fall back into that self-centered, selfish person that I was. In doing the steps, in growing in that relationship, I learned very first thing. This is circle and triangle was one of our first lessons that we had, and the circle, of course, represented wholeness. And if I were to be whole, I had to lean on this three-legged stool. If it would, and that would be me doing the steps. It would be me having a fellowship with others, and it would be me taking someone through the steps. And it was nice that, and important that, people would go to a meeting, set up coffee, take down chairs, but the real work involved bringing someone through the steps. And that would in turn keep me sober. Which brings me to something else that I remember reading in the big book, which is Bill's story. So Bill's story starting off, and, he met his friend Ebby. So let me not get too far ahead of myself, but Ebby met Bill when I think he was like very early in recovery, but he came and he met him. And he started sharing, recovery with him. And Bill got the recovery eventually, and Bill went out to do the same thing. He was very unsuccessful, but he ended up doing one thing, which was keeping himself sober. And working with others is exactly that. It is a gift. It is a gift to work with other people. Um, and it's something that I grow with every day because I'm not perfect and I have to deal with other people who aren't perfect and grow. And I get challenged and I can be right sometimes and I can be wrong sometimes. And when I'm wrong, I have to admit it as well. Um, Other areas that I read about working with others was interesting enough. In the chapter of working with others is making sure the person was really desperate enough, really willing to go through the steps. Talked about working with their family. I have never worked with someone's family so much, but it's nice that that Thursday night there's a meeting that they're everyone's invited and families able to take that on. A couple other things that I found interesting when reading through that was that even if things didn't return back, or that explaining to the sponsee what it was, what the work was that I went through, and what they were expected to do. I think I do that, but I think I'm challenged a little bit in the sense that maybe I need to do that a little bit better when talking to someone or considering to take someone on. What I want to share with you is not all the stuff that the big book talks about, but is about right after I finished my steps the very first time. So when I finished the steps, I was catapulted into the fourth dimension, feeling absolutely amazing. My life wasn't perfect in any means, but what a difference between when I started and where I finished. And as a result, I couldn't help but think of those people like me. Not those people that I don't know. I'm talking about my drinking buddies. So, three people that came to mind. One of them, none of them lived near me. So that was interesting. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. None of them lived near me. One of them was a 4-hour drive away. Where I'm in Ottawa, he's in Toronto, and I didn't know how that was going to work. I didn't know how to contact him, and I thought, well, let me try to do what I can do and see what I can do from there. So I messaged his aunt on Facebook and I said, hey, listen, I know my friend from school, and I struggle with this, and I know he did too. Don't know if he does still. Just wondering if you might be able to get me in touch with him. And I got in touch with him. It was great, and we connected and we talked a bit, and we shared how he was struggling, and I shared how I struggled and how I got sober, and he was desperate. He wanted a way. He wanted a way out. So I was like, this is fantastic. My next trip to Toronto, I brought a big book for him and a workbook, and we started to get started. We started to set up some Zoom meetings. I found him a group that he could attend, tried to get him in that circle and triangle thing. He had some periods of sobriety, and then back and forth and back and forth. And, it's a work in process. I think that something has started there and it's going to work. I wish I could tell you that it was perfect and things worked out well, but not yet. God is still working on that one. But there was another one. The other one was an uncle of mine who lived on the other side of the world. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. But I know that when AA started, there was letters. People wrote letters. So I thought, hey, why don't I write a letter? So I started writing letters. I had no idea how long the letter was going to take to get there, but I figured if I sent a letter at one point in time, the letter would get there in a week after I sent the last one, if I sent it a week later. So I started writing these letters. I tried to tell my story. I tried to tell them where I was. Tried to send them. I sent them these questions that we have in this workshop that we go through, and I figured, hey, we'll see what's happening. But I didn't hear anything. I wrote up to about the fourth step, and I was kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do an inventory with somebody who's on the other side of the world that I don't even have a response from. I don't know where to go from here. So I stopped. That was in 2020, 2021, 2021, and yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea if you read the letters, what happened, where it came. Recently, I took a trip across the world. And before I went, I thought to myself, you know what, I would love to connect with him. But I know it's not going to happen because he lives in a different city on a different island, and we're not going to meet up. It's not in the plans. But I felt as though God was telling me, "You're going to meet someone on this trip, and you're gonna work the steps. You're going to do that today. You're going to do that on your trip." So I was like, "Well, this is happening." So in church service, they were like, "Does anyone want anything to pray about?" So it's like, yes, I need prayer. I need prayer about what I'm going to do. How is this going to happen? So before I left, one of the prayer team members prayed with me, and we prayed, I pray that, that we would meet somebody and things would happen. And we got there, and just regular visits and things like that. Finally got to the small town where we wanted to visit family, and I found out that my uncle, unfortunately, he was in a car accident. He's okay. He's okay. He was in a car accident. He got injured and hurt, but he's okay. But as a result of that, he's back in the hometown where we are. So I'm like, I don't know, nervous, right? I don't know what to do. What should I do? What can I do? And yeah, he came to the house, and he said he read my letters, and he stayed sober for about a month, but he wasn't sure what to do. So I had about a couple of weeks, and I said, let's do the steps. So we went through, we read the big book. We every morning at 8 o'clock, every day, we went through the steps, and we went through the physical, mental, spiritual malady. We went through a third step. We did a prayer. He turned his will and life over to God. We worked on inventory together. We sat at the kitchen table and wrote out some inventories. And I had him go to his house and spend an hour in prayer, turning over his character defects to God. And I told him how to we read through the big book. What does it say about making amends? How do you do it? How do you go about doing it? I didn't have my cheat sheet cards that I would normally have at home. So I wrote some out on a piece of paper and kind of made some makeshift cards, and he went to work on his amends. And we started talking about working with others. And I said, when I get back home, I'll mail you some more books so that you can start working with others, because there's also a language barrier. They don't speak English fluently there. Everybody, some people do, some people don't. So I've got 2 books to send back to him. But I got home, he was, and he didn't shy away from the God idea. He had some prejudices like everybody does, but that's the big thing is God, in how it works. It says, we deal with alcohol. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful, and without help it's too much for us. But there's one who has all power, and that one is God. May you find him. And I really feel like he found God. There was a time, it was his birthday at the same time. So we went and had his birthday, and we went out and we celebrated his birthday. And I remember his wife was super happy. She said, "Hey, we're celebrating a first birthday sober." And I'm like, oh, those firsts. I remember all the first sobers, the first Christmas sober, the first birthdays, all those first sobers are so precious. And it was just like, I was just like, like, I can't say, that there's going to be, God knows what firsts are going to happen for him in his life, but firsts are going to happen. And and then I came back home. So he's there. There's no meetings on the island that he lives on. Nobody else in AA that I know of. Um, but my goal is he's connected to God, and that's the most important part. That he's got a connection with God, and God can relieve that obsession, and can get him straightened out. But I got home and expecting to still be able to communicate with him on Facebook Messenger and be able to touch base and I don't hear from him for a couple days, and then a couple days turns into a week, and then a week turns into 2 weeks, which turns into 3 weeks. And of course, if you've ever worked with anyone and you don't hear from them, you automatically think the worst things. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. He's got nobody out there. I don't know what it's going to be like. I've got God, please. I hope you have him still. Um, and, uh, and then of course I've already committed that I'm going to be talking about working with others, and I don't know where his state is at. And then one of the other sponsees that I'm working with, me and him didn't jive, and we have to disconnect, and sometimes it works that way, and it doesn't work out, and a lot of self-doubt and unsure about myself. And I'm like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I okay? Can I even have this conversation tomorrow about working with others? And I pull in the driveway last night, or yesterday, and my phone dings, and I look at my phone and I get this message from him, and he says, "Hey, I'm sorry I didn't message you for so long, but things are good. I'm still sober. By the grace of God, I'm still going to be sober, but you come back to visit again next time." And it was just the best thing in the world. Um, I I would love to say every experience is like this was just a wonderful experience, and I just wanted to share this story. Um, I didn't do anything that wasn't given to me freely. It was freely given to me by someone else who helped me with the steps and helped me connect with God. I did my best, which probably was not the greatest, but it was enough to hopefully get someone to connect with God. The most important thing in this, and the most what keeps me sober, that I'm aware of, is being connected to God, staying in my morning meditation, and helping and working with others. And I can't take any credit if he stays sober. It's only God who can. So I thank God for that. And I thank God for the opportunity to work with others and to help guide them. As I said, the qualification that I cling to, that I believe in, is in the wording of working of step 12, is having had that spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice those principles in all our affairs. So I'm going to continue to work my steps and try to carry this message to other people. I want to encourage others to do the same. If you've gone through the steps and you've had a spiritual experience, that is what you want to share. And twice in church this last 2 weeks, it says, I have planted, talking about Paul, and Apollos watered, but God gave the increase, what made the growth. So maybe you may be planting a seed, you may be watering a seed, but God is working in somebody right now. and you may be called to water, you may be called to plant, but just don't miss the opportunity to work with someone else and to share um, what God has given to you and what is available for others.